Roger.
And over. Kept saying, you think we're angry? The poor bastards from Massa Village will bleed you all dry for this.
Oh, ich dachte, er kommt noch hier. Was ist hier da? Er hat mich gesehen.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is B-Quad. Have arrived at LZ. Will stand by.
Was soll ich machen? Der andere war gepanzert. Ja, auf einmal ist jemand auf der Straße und Auto unterwegs war. Wahrscheinlich.
Extraction of all targets. Boss, on behalf of all the Diamond Dogs, thank you. Gaining altitude. Departing. Good work.
Plötzlich war jemand auf der Straße.
Yes. Mission complete. Boss, that was
B,
exceptional.
C, A. Warum A? Das habe ich. Ich habe für diese Mission so lange gebraucht, um einmal auf S zu schaffen. Habe ich bis jetzt immer noch nicht geschafft. Nicht mal auf der PS3 und auf der PS4 habe ich das immer noch nicht geschafft. Das war dieser komische Mission. Ich habe sogar in den Videos reingeguckt, wie man das schafft. Keine Chance. No go. 2C, 1B. Was soll ich damit machen? Also, diese Mission auf S zu kriegen, ist schon schwer. Das ist wirklich sehr schwer. Ich habe genau manchmal in dem Video nachgemacht. Hat es immer noch nicht gereicht, hat es nicht geklappt.
Boss, one of the job offers we received concerns me. There's a PF commander who's been talking big about getting into the nuclear arms trade. This could be connected to that yellow cake. And there's another contract I'd like you to handle. It's a wet job, but we need to divert Cypher's attention. Check the mission list for the details.
Boss, I have the report on that cargo we stole from Cypher's truck. The PF was transporting two things. The analysis of that malachite has come back first. Naturally, the main compound is copper. There's also a small amount of cobalt. Nothing unusual so far. Southern Zaire is a well-known copper belt. However, in addition to these, we also detected a trace amount of uranium. The content percentage, though, is too low for nuclear development. It most likely came from Shinkalobwe mine, That's where the uranium in that area comes from. The mine's closed, as all the high-purity uranium ore dried up a long time ago, but you could probably still find it there in small quantities. That said, there are plenty of other uranium mines that are in operation, like in Niger, Namibia, South Africa. Why go to an abandoned mine to scrape up whatever's left and ship it out in mass quantities without refining it? They were transporting that yellow cake too, which would suggest they have the technology to refine uranium. Anyway, that about sums it up. Unfortunately, the analysis of that yellow cake is taking a little longer. I'll let you know when it's done. Boss, sorry to keep you waiting. We finally finished analyzing that yellow cake cipher was moving. There was nothing unusual about the composition of the yellow cake itself. Most of it was oxidized uranium, with the rest being impurities, various metals as well as traces of organic matter. What's interesting is the composition of these impurities. When we checked them against the impurities found in the copper ore, it was clear the yellow cake didn't come from Shinkolobwe, meaning they went to the trouble of mining two sources of uranium, then transported them together in different states. Another thing, we detected a very thin layer of highly enriched uranium in the middle of the yellow cake. Now that is very interesting. It may not be a lot, but it points to the existence of uranium-enriching technology. After all, yellow cake can't naturally produce highly enriched uranium. If they could mass produce this, they'd be just one step away from a gun barrel type nuclear bomb. But uranium enrichment requires advanced technology and a large-scale facility. If that kind of place existed in Zaire, the Soviet Union wouldn't sit idly by. And there's another question. Where were they transporting the yellow cake and malachite uranium? The first place that comes to mind is South Africa. The government was supposed to have abandoned nuclear weapons development after caving to international pressure. But rumors persist that it's continued in secret. Plus, ZRS were escorting the truck, and they're based out of South Africa. And then South Africa does have an abandoned test site. If Cypher's involved with nuclear development in South Africa. But how would that fit with their weapon to surpass Metal Gear? We need more information.
Shinkolobwe. There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
The U.S. bought a lot of uranium from Shinkolobwe mine during World War II for the Manhattan Project. They even sent a squad from the Army Corps of Engineers to reopen the mine after it was flooded. That's how good its uranium must have been. With that, the world's first nuclear test was a success. Shinkolobwe uranium might have been used in the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs too. Just hearing its name is like seeing all the phantoms of the war rise up to haunt us. But all the uranium's dried up, and the mine's been closed for years.
So someone reopened it.
Right. Zero-risk security seized control of the area and were forcing locals to work in it. And the Zairean government was getting a slice of what they took in exchange for looking the other way. Mobutu has to finance his tastes somehow. He'll gladly sell the rights to some old mine. The question is, why would zero-risk security do this kind of thing?
Or rather, why were their employers, Cypher, interested in an abandoned mine? They'd be getting trace amounts of uranium, yet to the naked eye it appears to be ordinary malachite. Meaning security would be lax. Not a very efficient way of obtaining it, but easier to move.
But how would they enrich it at its destination?
Did the yellow cake really have a layer of highly enriched uranium in it?
Having trouble believing it?
No. If they say it's real, then it's real. In which case, they might have some enrichment method that we don't know about.
And this was to test it out?
It's possible. And that would mean it's almost complete.
Zero-risk security aren't as hardcore a military outfit compared to the other two PFs in this region. The company sends operators to conflict regions around the world, not just Africa. They have decades of combined experience. They're also based out of South Africa. Their headquarters is in Johannesburg. A lot of their work involves corporate security for South African companies, but a good number of their operators are retired South African military. So don't mistake them for a bunch of security guards. Rogue Coyote operates mainly out of Africa these days. Of the three PFs, they're the smallest. However, They scooped up most of the Rhodesian SAS after the country collapsed 4 years ago. Picture their entire organization as one big special forces unit. With Rhodesia a British colony, the Rhodesian SAS had its origins in 22 SAS Sea Squadron. They started out as a group known as the Southern Rhodesia Volunteers, but in '51 they were incorporated into 22 SAS as members of the British Commonwealth and deployed to fight guerrillas in the Malayan emergency. Even now, 22 SAS keeps the Sea Squadron designation empty in recognition of their service. In a way, you could say the SAS almost makes up the core of Rogue Coyote. Later on, they were bolstered by other talent, including former Celis Scouts and 32 Battalion. These guys are direct descendants of the best special forces in the world. They won't go down without a fight. Don't get careless. Kunganga Mine. A civil war's been going on in that region for the last 20 years. It's being fought by what are now two ethnic groups, the Buta and the Mbele. Originally, you could barely tell them apart, but the reason for the current armed conflict goes back to World War I. After the war, their land was colonized by a European power, and it decided to give local control to the Buta. That split the two groups into rulers and subjects, laying the foundations for an inevitable civil war. The friction between them remained even after they won independence from Europe. The Buta are holding on to power to this day, and the Mbele rebels continue to fight back. The conflict is funded by locally mined gold, rare metals, diamonds. They've used the money from those to arm themselves, buy oil, and even hire PFs. The Buta administration owns the mining rights to Kunganga Mine. But most of the laborers are Mbele, who they've taken prisoner. The product they've gouged out of their land is bought up by cheap Western corporations. And this civil war is fueled by the profits. That's how it goes. One country's people is split apart by another country. Then the two groups tear up their own land for money in order to fight each other. Now this civil war started by a foreign power is the norm, and it's sucking up all the country's resources. PFs are just the same. They follow the money, taking war with them wherever they go. That goes for us too. It's an endless river of bloody retaliation, and we're standing downstream. Should we make a stand and staunch the flow? Or wade in amongst the corpses and make a bigger splash than the rest? We'll follow your lead, boss.
Wir gucken mal so Rang von den Soldaten an. Warte mal. Wir gucken mal bei denen hier. Den könnte ich eigentlich entlassen. Die könnte ich eigentlich alle entlassen, weil die bringen mir absolut gar nichts. Okay, warte mal kurz. Ein Level senkt das ab. Ich guck mal hier. Warum haben wir die beiden im Knast? Ah, okay. Ja, ob man mit Quiet spielen kann? So als die sind im Krankenhaus. Ja. Ist schwer verletzt. Sind ja alle A. Da kann ich nichts machen. Den hier zum Beispiel. Oh, das ist schwierig, passende Soldaten zu haben. Ne, so können wir das nicht machen. Ja, guck mal, aber der ist dort abgelöst, den könnte ich da nicht wegschicken. Sowieso nicht. Die beide Seiten, die lass dran. CB. Ne, das geht gar nicht. Guck, sobald da B ist, dann ist ja da A. Nee. Das geht nicht. Schwierig. Bei denen auch nicht. Oh. Ich könnte ihn hier hinschicken. Wahrscheinlich noch einer, dann levelt das ab. Das könnte ich auch machen. Aber dafür habe ich für den anderen ein Level geopfert. Das ist doch Kacke. Ich glaube, das ist jetzt einfach automatisch so. Weil die hier ist echt schwer zu leveln. Also dieses oh Gott. Bei den Waffen. Ein bisschen schneller. Ist nicht viel. Ne. Medizin können wir auch nicht machen, ne? Das ist echt viel Arbeit. Wo ist... War das hier Medizin? Ja, ne? Ne, nicht hier. Ja, es gibt sowas. Auch nicht hier. Hier war das. Ne. Oder war das bei dem Arm? Auch nicht. Boah. Wie kriegt man so einen hohen Level, Alter? Mit S-Rang? Ja, aber das dauert einfach viel zu lange, bis man einen S-Rang kriegt. Nichts Neues hier. Naja. Belohnung, 3 Stück. mal das hier. Ich hätte gerne Ressourcen und nicht so Billo-Soldaten. Was ist mit S? Ne. Also online sind wir nicht in der Lage, ne? Ne. Zu wenige Leute. Ach, das können wir machen. Ja. Nein, das können wir nicht machen. Das können wir auch nicht. Nur das hier. Das geht auch nicht. Das geht. Euch mal dahin. Wie lange dauert das? 4 Tage. Wow. Und 2,1 Millionen. A-Kämpfer. Das hier mache ich. Ja, mit denen bin ich noch in der Lage. Weil ich habe 100%ige Erfolgschance. 4 Tage und 3 Tage, das kann ich glaube, diese Zeit geht ja auch, läuft auch weiter, auch wenn man offline ist. Okay. Okay, wir haben hier 2 Missionen. Ich würde gerne diese Mission mit Kuwait machen.